All right. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome. I am a grateful believer in Jesus for all that he's done for me and the freedom he's brought my life in so many different ways. I struggle with codependency, emotional eating, and dopamine addiction through tech. And my name is Trevor. Hey, glad to see you guys. If you are new here on Monday night, welcome. I'm the pastor of Celebrate Recovery, and it's great to see you guys here tonight. And usually we have a rotation between giving a lesson and a testimony. We're doing something different tonight. We are having what's called an Ask It Basket panel, where if you were here last week, a lot of you submitted questions to ask about working recovery program and different things that you have on your mind with that. And we got a panel of people here who have been working their own recoveries. There's no such thing, I think, as an expert in recovery. We're all on the journey together. And so I'm going to let them introduce themselves first before we get into some questions.
I'm Casper. I'm an addict and alcoholic, and my sobriety date is October 4th, 2022.
Hey, Casper.
Hello, I'm Chastity. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I'm in recovery for drugs and alcohol and many other things that I found out. And my sobriety date is August 31st, 2001.
My name's Larry. I'm a recovering alcoholic, addict, and shiny metal objects. And my sobriety date is April 4th, 1986.
Hi, my name's Tamar. I'm working a program for codependency, control, anger, and complex trauma. And I've been working a program since January 2013.
Awesome. All right, so here's the deal. Some of the comments that you guys gave last week were really great, or some of the questions you guys gave were really great. There were a couple comments when there's supposed to be questions, like, my question never gets asked. We're trying, okay? So we're going to try to get through as many questions as we can in the limited time that we have, but I think we're going to have a good discussion here tonight. I'm actually going to start with my friend Larry tonight, and you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. We're friends? What?
Amen.
I know, right? All right.
Even
so
admits he knows me in public.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so here's the first question that I thought you would answer perfectly. One person wrote, "When will I be finished with recovery? How long does it take for most people to recover?"
Can you repeat it one more time?
When will I be finished with recovery?
When I die.
So for the newcomer, tell us what you mean by that, like when you die.
It's like alcohol and drugs were just a symptom of my disease. And it's all the other things that go along with it. Fear-based, selfishness, self-centeredness, all those things. And those things can always creep back in the little back door when I'm not guarded. So it's a constant being vigilant with my gray matter. And the big book talks about hundreds of different forms of fear that we can be hit with, and there's probably thousands. And life kind of happens, and there's things to be fearful about, but all the little dramas I can create in my brain, I don't have to be fearful about. So it's just a constant working the steps and holding myself accountable with help.
Great. Thanks, Larry. All right, Casper, you're next. All right, let's see here. Here's a question I thought that was interesting. One person wrote, "What should you work on when you don't think you have anything that needs to be worked on?"
Glad you got that one.
So, if you're sitting in this room tonight, just like I am, evidently you have something to work on. When we rest on our laurels and I think, oh, I got this, I've done it many times. And you know what? I relapsed many times. Any time that I think I don't have anything else to work on, it's because I'm too scared to take a look at myself.
Can you say that one more time?
Anytime I think I don't have anything else to work on is because I don't want to take a look at myself.
Oof. Dang. Good word. All right, Chastity. Let's see here. How do I stay healthy emotionally when I work in a toxic environment? Anybody here work in toxic environments?
Ooh. All right. Oh, first, Leah, can you put that on a shirt, what he said? But, okay, so for one thing I have to, in this, the first thing I have to remember is that I can only do something about me. I can't do anything about anybody else that I work with. When I do have a situation at work, I work for a nonprofit and with the public. Enough said on that. I can't do anything about anybody else. So in order to keep myself healthy, I work with other people that work a program, which is fabulous. So I have help right there. If I have a moment where I just feel like I'm going to lose it, I always call my sponsor. I call other accountability people. I call my husband, and he says, I said, you need to talk me off the ledge. And it's also, too, I am called to be a light and the face of Jesus. So I have to give extra grace because I know a lot of times I need grace. So it's just working my program and using the tools that I have and making the phone calls and realizing that I can't change anybody else, just myself.
That speaks to me as a codependent of I can only change me. Now, if I try really hard, I think I'm going to change somebody else, but no.
And also, too, speaking my truth, because, there's a difference in working in an unhealthy environment or being abused. And that is one thing that I will not allow. So having boundaries and all of that, too.
That's a perfect segue. Tamar, I'm going to ask you a question about boundaries, bouncing off of that. How do I not feel bad for making boundaries?
So for me, I still struggle with it. It's hard. But I'm recognizing that when I make boundaries, they are for me. They aren't to impose on someone else. They're not to control someone else or change someone else. They're for myself, to make myself feel safe. Or, I think of it as being regulated. So it's a way of trying to help me get to a calmer place. So I'm able to let go of feeling bad about it when I know that I'm actually doing something that's healthier for the people around me and it's healthier for me. And it's allowing me to be like a safer person. So, but boundaries are like, my hula hoop. So I think that was.
That's good. That's good. That's good. All right, Larry, let's go back to you. One person wrote, I've been working a program for a long time. I've had sponsors and accountability partners. I've accepted Christ. Why is recovery still so hard? I thought it was also supposed to be unicorns and rainbows as soon as we say yes to all this stuff, right?
Well, I don't know. I kind of feel it's supposed to be hard in the beginning. Getting sober is hard. And it's supposed to be hard kind of because anything that I had to work for, I cherish. And anything that was just handed to me, I don't care about. So yeah, in the beginning it's tough, and you have to tough it out. Why is it hard later? There's a term called acceptance. And it's in the Serenity Prayer too, but when I was drinking, I was in full flight from reality. And when I'm sober, I have to accept life as it is. Not as I would have it, because I would have it some other way. But accepting it as it is. And also, it's like, when I was drinking, the booze made all my choices for me, when to get up, when to do whatever. And now that I'm sober, I have the power of choice.
Come on.
I can choose when I wake up how I am going to view the world. And if I want to be the grumpy goose, I can surely do that. I know how to be miserable. I used to be miserable. I choose not to be miserable.
Come on. That's awesome. All right, I'm just going to keep going in the order that we were doing that. Is that cool with everybody? All right, so Casper, back to you. Can you work on more than one habit at the same time and be on 2 different steps at the same time?
All right, this one's going to hurt. The reason I say that, can I work on more than one habit at one time? Absolutely. You know, I've said it before. When I got into recovery, drugs and alcohol wasn't my problem. It was my solution to my problems. My real problem was me. And that's just not like I have one problem. I have all kinds of problems. I still got a lot of them today. But that is the wonderful thing about working the steps, is you get to work on them things one step at a time. If you're climbing up a ladder, you're not going to take 2 steps at a time because it's going to hurt. You know, you're not going to get halfway up the ladder and say, oh, I missed that rung, I'm going to run back down and hit it one time. You're going to end up falling, it's going to hurt. You know, the thing about working the steps is that they're put in place for a reason. Just like when we walk, 1 step at a time, 1 foot in front of the other. You know, the steps were designed that we are able to work on many problems at one time. That don't mean we get to get up here and then step back to work on something else down here. Because if you back up to work on this down here, you're not taking the time you need for the step that you're on.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
You know, so it's important that, yes, you can work on many habits at one time, but you cannot work on more than 1 step at a time. They're in order for a reason, and that's the way you need to work them.
I like hear that. It's almost like if you feel like you need to go back or whatever, it's like don't microwave the step that you're on. Take the time, let God do all the work he needs to do there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
and you
good.
know what? And I'm going to add this to it too. You know, that's what steps 10, 11, and 12 is for. They're your maintenance steps. If you miss something, you know what? We get to take a personal inventory. We get to ask God's guidance for it, and we take care of that problem as it arises. Because I don't know about you guys, but I was out destroying stuff for 40-something years. I'm not fixing it in a year.
Yep.
You know, that's why you constantly have to work the steps on a daily basis.
Good word, man. Good word. All right, Chastity. I thought this one was super relatable. Most people, when they're working the steps, really struggle with 4 and 5 in a huge way. And so one person wrote this question: when step 4 becomes very heavy, what are some of your strategies to keep going, especially when life gets in the way?
Okay, so life's always going to get in the way, regardless whether you're doing the steps or not, but the steps make it easier when life gets in the way. So for me, I always say, 1, 2, and 3 is I can't, he can, I'm going to let him. That's why 4 comes after that. It's like they're saying the steps are in that order for a reason. And in 4, what I realized was I was able to see the patterns that I'd never seen my whole life. I kept making the same mistakes, and I didn't know why. So I've already said I can't, he can, I'm going to let him. Well, if I don't know what the pattern looks like, how do I change it? So for me, it was like that aha moment that I leaned into. Like I was not excited in the beginning about doing it, but once I got into it, I'm like, I didn't even realize these things. So I kept getting the same results. I kept, repeating the same things. Nothing was getting any better. So I was able to see that. I was able to see fears, just, and then also, too, in that it says, made a searching and fearless moral inventory. Well, the searching is if you have the Holy Spirit, he's going to help you do that.
Yep.
And the fearless is Jesus. So for me, that made it way easier. I was ready for that freedom. And if you're ready for that freedom, that's where you start to see it, I feel like.
Yeah. What I hear in that is, you're supposed to do this with God. He's going to help you. And at the very beginning, I don't want anybody to breeze past it. You said life is always going to get in the way.
Always.
If we're waiting for life to calm down, for you to get through your step 4 and 5,
It's not going to happen.
it's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to happen. In fact, life might get crazier because something probably doesn't want you to get through your step 4 and step 5. So you got to just push through.
Yeah.
Yeah, good word. Good word. Okay, Tamar, here's a huge one, especially for people who work in a program around trauma or ways where they've been hurt or whatnot. How do I learn to trust again? Take a deep breath, everybody. Oof.
So as I think about that, in the midst of broken trust or betrayal, and it's like a whirlwind. And I think the way to get to a path of trusting again is by finding trusted people and program safe people, sharing, hearing what they have to say, being validated and heard, and given a different perspective, kind of calm down the storm. It's really hard to trust, my own perspective when I'm just spinning like out. And so that's what, that's where I'll end up being. So that's the beginning of trust for me, was to find, meetings where I could be honest, where I could be real, where I could talk about what was actually happening and build the trust there. And then, and that started to build the ability to trust myself again, to be able to trust God. It's not really trusting, maybe a person who's harmed you. It's really about learning to trust and learning to build that relationship back up with yourself, build the relationship with God where I can really lean in. That's what, and he's become such a safe place for me. He's so faithful. He's so true. He always shows up for me. And he sends me people when I can't, find my way out. So, and then as far as building trust with others, it's like, trust is, my therapist said, trust is developed in droplets and broken in buckets. And so...
you got to say that one more time. If you're taking notes, you better write that down.
Trust is built in droplets and broken in buckets. And so it takes time to fill the bucket back up. It takes time. It's not a one and done sort of situation. It's a building process. So, yeah.
Great word. Let me ask you one more follow-up. Same person, different question. How can I teach my kids recovery?
I feel like that's been kind of cool. As I'm getting more healthy, I'm able to pour that out of who I am, because kids don't listen. They don't listen to what you say. They listen to what you do. So when I'm doing something different, my kids are listening, they're watching. I'm able to real time teach them a new way to handle that. I'm able to apologize. I'm able to go, oh, mommy lost it. That wasn't okay. I need to do this different. And they're, because they watched how I was broken. And so, to see me change, they're learning a new way to be. And it's really encouraging to see a program just, come out and flow out. I think as parents, the healthier we get, the healthier I get, the healthier my kids are getting. So
it's awesome. Good word. Okay, we have a little bit of time because we have chip night as well tonight, so I want to watch the time for small groups. Let me get one more in here. Casper, I'm going to go to you. One person wrote, what can I do to help reduce the chance of relapse?
What can I do to help reduce the chance of relapse? Well, I've tried many things, but I'll tell you what has made me relapse every time. I quit doing what worked for me. First, I quit praying. Then I quit doing what worked for me. And then I'd let that guilt and shame eat me up so much I'd do whatever I had to do to keep from feeling that. Every time I lose my contact with God and I quit working my program of recovery, I relapse. So if you're not working on recovery, you're working on a relapse.
Say it again for the person in the back. Say it again.
If you're not working on recovery, you're working on a relapse. Recovery is a lifetime thing. When we get into recovery, it's for the rest of our lives. So if we're not doing that, we're definitely working on a relapse.
Larry, this is a follow-up here. A conversation you and I were having one time. You talked about how he said it, that if you're not working your recovery, you're working on your relapse. You've talked about when people work the steps backwards. Yeah. That leads to relapse. Tell everybody what it means to work the steps backwards.
Well, if it's on. If I stop working with others and I stop praying and meditating and I stop taking my own inventory, lose my humility, and I don't apologize or make amends when I have hurt people. And I have hurt people in recovery, too. So it's not, when I start taking my will back, right? And when I don't think I'm an alcoholic anymore. And my old saying, I know a lot of y'all heard it and they're probably tired of it. Most alcoholics die of a bad memory. They forget what it was like.
That's right.
I don't want to ever forget what my bottom was. So I don't have to go back there.
There it is. Awesome. All right, so for time, we're going to put a bow on this. First of all, can we honor our guest panel here? And I want to remind everybody, so we're going to go to small groups here in just a couple minutes. Ask It Basket stuff where you can ask people questions. You don't have to wait till when we do this like once or twice a year. You can like ask people questions. We're having desserts and coffee at Connections Cafe after a small group. Anytime. Did you know that? Yeah, you could. So if your question didn't get answered, don't complain to me. Go ask one of them. They would love that. Sound good? Great. All right, let's thank our panelists one more time. All right, so tonight,